Avenged, 2013, is a horror action film in which a group of thugs brutally assault a deaf-mute woman named Amanda Adrienne. Following the attack, the spirit of an Apache warrior inhabits her lifeless body, propelling her on a vengeful and bloodthirsty rampage. The story follows a deaf woman named Zoe, a girl excited to meet her fiancé despite her mother's concerns. During her trip, she engages in risky behavior by texting and taking pictures while driving. She narrowly avoided hitting a man standing in the road. Luckily for her, she didn't hit him, but the man fell to the ground. Then, she notices another man being chased by a group of reckless individuals in a pickup truck. The men intentionally run over the man. It appears that the man is trying to reach his injured friend, prompting Zoe to rescue him and take him into her car. However, the barbaric individuals from the pickup truck catch up to her before she can escape. They brutally attack and kill the man in the front seat of her car. Then, they capture Zoe and take her to a desolate place. There they restrain her in a garage using barbed wire and subject her to a horrific sexual assault. It is revealed that the captors have identified Zoe as deaf-mute, though she can speak awkwardly. After subjecting her to abuse, they take a break to play poker. Despite being mute, Zoe manages to express her pain through groans as she struggles to free her wrists from the barbed wire restraints. She valiantly tries to escape but is caught and brutally stabbed to death. Her lifeless body is carelessly buried in a shallow grave. Zoe is miraculously found with her hands sticking out of the ground. A Native American discovers her and takes her to a sacred burial ground. Through ancient chanting, dancing, and smoking rituals, the Native American brings her back to life. However, during the process, Zoe briefly appears possessed by evil, with her eyes turning black and levitating. Eventually, she returns to her normal state and wakes up in a barn, determined to seek justice. Zoe sets out to confront the remaining members of the gang who harmed her. Despite facing communication challenges due to her deafness, she manages to find the last payphone in America and calls her boyfriend. However, her encounter takes an unexpected turn when she spots a police car manned by Jed, one of her rapists. Instead of seeking cover, Zoe follows Jed into a bar where he callously describes the horrific scenario to the bartender. When Jed's accomplices notice Zoe, a scene unfolds where she takes matters into her own hands. Engaging in a brutal confrontation with Jed, Zoe stabs him multiple times. In a gruesome tug-of-war, Zoe pulls out his intestines. When one of Jed's friends tries to intervene with a pool cue, Zoe retaliates by breaking it off and jamming it into his eye socket. On the other side, Zoe's fiancé arrived at the public telephone place and saw police officers there. He asked the officer about Zoe but was informed that a murder had occurred and Zoe was not there. Despite this, Zoe's fiancé mentioned that Zoe had called him from that place an hour earlier. Meanwhile, Trey and his gang also arrived at the scene and became furious upon seeing their friend's dead body. They couldn't figure out who had killed him. Zoe's fiancé approached them, showed them Zoe's picture, and asked if they had seen her. Initially, they asked him to leave immediately upon seeing the picture. However, when he mentioned Zoe's call, they were surprised. They moved forward to attack Zoe's fiancé, but the police officer arrived and intervened, asking them to leave. Later, Zoe regained consciousness in a shed. A door to a room opened automatically, revealing various tools. Zoe picked up an arrow and a bow and left the shed. Meanwhile, Trey and his gang went to the place where they had buried Zoe, only to find her body missing. One of the colleagues who had stabbed her suggested that a wild animal might have taken her body, but Trey didn't believe it. They decided to get rid of evidence from their property due to fear of being arrested by the police. Back at home, Trey's friend came out of his house and discovered that someone had thrown arrows at his car. He called Trey, leaving a message, expressing his fear. At that moment, Zoe arrived and started killing him with arrows until he died. When Trey heard the message, he rushed to the scene and found his friend dead. The situation became more difficult as Zoe, although resurrected, was deteriorating and emitting a foul smell. She was shot, but the bullet only left a hole. She pulled off a ring, tearing off a piece of her finger skin. She unwrapped the bandages from where she had been restrained with barbed wire, revealing gaping wounds infested with worms and maggots. In pain, Zoe sought help from the Native American, who explained that he had found her body in a grave and performed a ritual to bring her soul back. However, her soul was accompanied by the soul of the tribe's commander, seeking revenge against Trey's family for wiping out their tribe. The old man revealed that Trey's family was also Zoe's enemy. He warned Zoe that her body was rotting and that she had limited time to act. On the other side, Trey planned to kidnap Zoe's fiancé to protect themselves from her. They found him and beat him before kidnapping him in their car. As they were leaving, Zoe arrived and shot an arrow into Trey's friend's neck. Trey and his friend were shocked to see Zoe alive and ran away. Zoe also fled, jumping into their car. A fight ensued on top of the moving car, with Trey's friend stabbing Zoe multiple times to no effect. Trey applied the brakes, causing Zoe to fall in front of the car. Trey repeatedly ran over Zoe with the car, but she remained alive. Shocked, Trey ran away to save his life, taking Zoe's fiancé to a secure location and tying him up. Trey's injured companion was in pain, but they didn't take him to the hospital. The friend told Trey that when he looked into Zoe's eyes, they were black, as if another soul had possessed her. Then, Trey speculated that the old man from the tribe, who had a grudge against his family, might have called upon another soul to enter Zoe's body. Determined to stop Zoe, Trey hired a group of armed men. Meanwhile, Zoe was seen binding her body with tape, appearing sad. At that moment, the soul of the tribe's commander arrived and gave Zoe 2 weapons they had used in the war. As night fell, Trey's injured friend experienced intense pain. He decided to secretly take the car and head to the hospital. However, suddenly Zoe appeared in front of his car and threw a rod at him. As a result, the car lost control, spun out, and died. Trey confides in Zoe's fiancé, revealing how they all mistreated his fiancée and subjected her to torture. Overwhelmed with grief, Zoe's fiancé breaks down in tears. Meanwhile, Zoe continues to kill the remaining friends one by one. Trey, desperately searching for his friend, discovers that Zoe has also murdered him. To add to the horror, Zoe takes his friend's heart and consumes it right in front of Trey's eyes, leaving him terrified. Fleeing in fear, Trey encounters a police officer. In a panic, he kills the officer and makes his escape. Meanwhile, Zoe approaches her fiancé, who is devastated upon seeing her. Although he pleads for her to stay by his side, Zoe is running out of time to exact her revenge. Reluctantly, she leaves, determined to carry out her plan. Trey seeks out the old man at gunpoint and implores him to explain how Zoe became alive again. The old man reveals the whole story, that the soul of the tribe's leader now resides within Zoe, and the soul will only find peace after eliminating the entire family. Trembling with fear, Trey strikes him and asks the old man how to rid Zoe of the soul. The old man instructs him to burn the skull of the leader, as doing so will force the soul to leave Zoe's body. Meanwhile, the police discover Zoe's fiancé, releasing him from captivity and launching an investigation. Zoe arrives at Trey's house, witnessing the devastating sight of Trey's brother's suicide, provoked by the tribe leader's soul. Zoe kills Trey's mother before departing. Finally, Trey arrives at a specific location, having collected all the skulls except for the tribe leaders. To his surprise, Zoe appears, holding the missing skull. In a desperate bid to save his own life, Trey grabs a chainsaw and engages in a fierce battle with Zoe. During the fight, Zoe cuts off one of Trey's hands, but he retaliates by impaling the chainsaw into Zoe's body. Deprived of fuel for her anger, Zoe cuts off Trey's neck, bringing an end to her revenge and the tribe leader's quest. Sometime later, Zoe's fiancé arrives at the location, summoned there by the old man. he discovers Zoe's half-buried body and confesses his enduring love for her. Finally, he sets her body ablaze, granting peace to both Zoe and the tribe leader's soul. And there the movie ends.